Welcome, adventurers and fellow world builders. I'm Yadro, and this is Yadro Gaming. So you've finally decided to run your own game of Dungeons and Dragons or another TTRPG. You're thinking, how am I going to find players to actually run in this game? Well, that's what today's video is about. The good news is, at least in my experience, it's much easier to find players to join your game than it is to find a DM that will allow you to enter their game. Think about it this way. When you're the DM, you get to choose what players you want to join your game. When you're a player, you're hoping to be chosen. That's one of the perks about running these games yourself versus just trying to be a player somewhere. You can hand select the people that you think are going to match the tone and the type of game that you want to run. And that's the whole goal of what we're trying to do. There's a lot of good players out there and a lot of good DMs, but just because you've got a good player doesn't mean they're going to be the best fit for the type of game that you're going to run. And the same is true for the DM. TTRPGs are great experiences that people can join and enjoy without that much experience. You'd be surprised at how many people have thought about playing but have just never pulled the trigger on it and gotten into a game themselves. The easiest and most obvious place to start is friends and family that you already know that are close enough in proximity to you to join you if you want to play a game in person or are available on the night that you want to run a game online. When I started with a group of friends and family that I thought might want to join and not everyone did, I just started off with a simple message of, hey, I'm thinking about running a game of D&D. Are you interested in joining? If you're anything like me, you can be kind of nervous about asking your current friends and family because you just don't know if they're going to be accepting of it or if they've ever thought about it or would be willing to join you in this hobby. I know that I didn't, for my first couple campaigns, reach out to those individuals and see if they would join. I went right to trying to find other people to join the hobby so that I wasn't kind of mixing friends groups. It actually wasn't until my second or third campaign that I reached out to some of my best friends from high school if they wanted to join me online for a campaign that I could run for them out of a module, Curse of Strahd, which is a fantastic module to run, and they finally agreed to join me, and we had an absolute blast. If you were able to watch the introduction video to my channel, I spoke about how I was kind of a closeted nerd for a better part of my career as a DM. And I really wish I hadn't have been, especially once I saw how easily and how quickly my friends from high school took to the game and how some of them continue to play today. Your local gaming store is also going to be a great hub for finding TTRPG players. I can almost guarantee you that they have a certain night of the week that they let people come in and run games that are either based on a module, adventure league, or a homebrew campaign that someone just decided to run in the store. In my experience, I found that these people are fairly accommodating, willing to take you into a campaign mid-playthrough and let you at least see the ropes as how they're running them and give you a chance to test it out and see if it's something that you want to pursue any further. I would recommend that you go in there with a light idea of a character design because they're going to be throwing you in midway into whatever it is that they're doing. So you want to make sure that you can be very nimble in what you're doing at the beginning of it so that you can fit in seamlessly and not disrupt their gameplay. The third option we're going to talk about, going into the online portal, has opened up so many doors in the TTRPG universe. There are so many online resources that you can use to find a game or to run one yourself. You can check out Reddit and go to r/LFG for looking for group and to see if there's anyone there that's looking to run a game online or even in person in your area. I know this option is going to be hard to believe, but Craigslist was actually where I first found my 4 players in my initial campaign that I ever ran. I was very hesitant to go into it that way, but I thought I'll just post an ad and see what happens, and I got 4 responses almost immediately. One of those individuals ended up staying in 4 or 5 campaigns with me, and the other 3 kind of faded out after a while, after about 10 or 12 sessions, but the one individual was just a phenomenal guy that I still talk to today. And the final option is where I found my current group, and when I moved into a new area, I simply went onto Facebook and I just typed in Dungeons and Dragons city and state at the end of it, and it pulled me up to a local organization that was all about just finding people to play in games. Once I went in there, I posted an ad that's saying like, hey, in 2 months I'm going to be starting up a game, I'm looking for players. This is the kind of tone I'm going to run. I'm going to meet on this day of the week at this time. This is my experience DMing, and I'm looking for players that want to do this. I think that's a phenomenal way to get started, and if you are a DM running a game, depending on what city you're in, you could see dozens of responses in just a few days, and then you can go through, find out who do you think matches what you're looking for the best, and possibly set up that initial conversation of, let's talk about this away from the actual Facebook post that you made, and get to know them a little bit better and see if they'll be a fit. The next option is going to be one that's in your local community. There's a lot of community spaces and libraries that have event boards that you can go to, and a lot of times people will post kind of wanted ads in there, have little tear strips at the bottom where they'll say that they're looking for adventurers or pathfinders or what have you, and they're looking for players to join their game. Simply rip one of those off, contact the person running the game, and see if they'd be interested in adding you. The next option we're going to look at is something I've already alluded to, and that's virtual tabletop play. I've had a lot of success in this avenue as well. I've run 4 or 5 campaigns strictly online in Roll20. There's also sites like Foundry, and you can go on Discord as well to try to run things completely via the chat or voice on that app. If you check onto these websites, you'll see that they have whole forums based on finding players and DMs to match their game. Some people have a small group of 2 or 3 that are looking to add a couple more and a DM. Some are just DMs looking for players. I will say that one of the frustrating things about trying to play in an online game as a player is that there are a lot of people that are competing for those spots, and the DM is going to be very specific on what they're looking for in adding their players. So when you look at those postings and they ask for specific things from you, my best advice would be to follow those directions and what they want you to respond with, and don't just copy and paste your character idea from each thread to the next hoping to get a game. That's one way to turn off your potential DM immediately. The sixth thing we're going to talk about is potentially using social media to leverage your interest. You would be surprised at how many people out there are lurking on your different sites, hoping to find a game just like you are. If you were to post on one of those and you have people that you speak with frequently, you might be surprised at who comes out of the woodwork to volunteer to be a player in one of your games. It could be a great way to get players that you normally wouldn't have thought of. Tying several of these options together, one of the best things you can do is try to find a D&D community or another TTRPG community that you can join where there's already a bunch of people established and have played with each other in the past. Sometimes these groups just get big enough that they can't have everyone at the table with them. Perhaps they've got 15, 16 people in there and they have to run multiple tables. That could be a great opportunity for you to come in and not only meet new people, make new friends, but also start to create those stories that we're going to remember for a long time. I hope with all these avenues you're able to find a means that works for you and a way to find your players or to find the game that you'll be a best fit for. Remember, tabletop RPGs are a great way to tell fun and interesting stories with a group of strangers that ultimately will become your friends. Get into it as soon as you can. I highly recommend it. If you found this useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share in the comments with me, were there any weird ways that you found players in your game? Did you ever find a DM in an interesting way for a game that you've played in? Have you ever been on Craigslist to try to do it? I'll see you in the next video. And remember, why be a player when you could be a god?